What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of Pending Final. Today, we are going to do a deep dive into the MCU, a bit of a self-indulgent podcast. Just a heads up, you probably have seen all these films by now, but there will be some massive spoiler territory possibly covered as we deep dive into the MCU. And of course, being a visual effect podcast, we will also be covering the visual effect aspect of said films, possibly. But anyway, going over to Helen, how are you tonight?
Oh, do you know what? This is the best thing. I love recording so much.
Me too.
And then I kind of hate listening to myself because I can't work out if I sound like I'm I know too much, like I'm trying really hard, or I literally know nothing at all, and I'm trying to work out what that balance is.
You're trying to you're having this inner battle with yourself.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a history of the MCU, and then we're going to really talk about some of our personal favorites and kind of some what worked, what didn't work, how it affected us, and it kind of, again, tying into visual effects as well. So Helen, take us away.
I'm going to take you back to the dark days of 1995.
Watch it.
I was but a babe. So we're back in 1995, where really the MCU could not have happened if all these awful things hadn't happened first. But essentially, Marvel stock prices just went through the floor. Nobody wants comics anymore. Nobody wants anything from them. They're not having a great time, and they start selling off their properties. They end up getting pretty much nothing for them when they're selling off all these properties. So they are desperately trying to claw back money somehow, and end up getting this part. I'm not sure about how this happened, but a little company called Artisan were gonna help Marvel fund a little media expansion where they were going to take a bunch of properties and make them into film and TV shows and online video. They were somehow in 2000.
Wow, way back
in 2000,
wow.
Yeah, they were talking about, we'll just do some online video stuff. And it was all going to be super low budget stuff. But some names like Captain Marvel and Deadpool, Ant-Man, Iron Fist, things that you've seen now were all on the slate to go through this little media expansion for them to desperately try and claw back some money. Plans were in action. People were sort of talking about it, but it was all very sort of low key. No one seemed to be super into it, and I can't seem to find any remnants of what those plans might have actually been. We just know that they were discussions that were being had.
It might have been in tandem. I mean, again, I remember iPods. I almost said iPads. iPods with video came out in about 2003, 2004. I love that you're looking. I love
sorry,
you.
I'm really sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, it's good because obviously I don't want to. Yeah. But I'm wondering if maybe that's something that they were really looking into, to where you could watch TV. I mean, that's how I watched the TV show Lost. Was
really?
I bought every episode of season 1, and that was my first binging experience. I remember sitting in a college dorm room. That's how I watched Lost. And so I'm wondering if that was kind of the initial plan, and maybe some forward thinkers, but then it just didn't get the funding or enough people to go, maybe they were just a bit, because you said about 2000.
Yeah. They
may have just been a few years too soon in that thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And around this time, it's a crazy sort of 2000, 2001, 2003, it feels like the market's a little bit tumultuous generally.
Yes.
We've got companies buying each other, media companies all grabbing each other. The company that was offering to fund these little projects ended up being bought by Lionsgate. So they inherited all of this.
Yeah, because Artisan, I remember seeing the intros, and then Lionsgate. You're right. That company blew up in the early 2000s, because I remember they had 2 different logos, because for like their horror films for like Saw and things like that, I thought it was very bizarre. I know that's a weird thing for me to recognize.
No, that's...
I'm the graphics trailer person, but I just remember going, oh wait, that's the same company, but yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But also around this time, when Marvel was selling stuff off, the rights for Iron Man were somehow Iron Man was the thing that got passed around. So it went from Marvel to Universal to Fox to New Line Cinema. So it's just being passed around like all the houses, like everyone's picking it up and doesn't really know what to do with it, which fair enough. It's a weird character. Like if you look at the original comics, that is not something that in 2002, 2003, it looks like something from the old Doctor Who series, like the old Cybermen. Like it looks hard to update if you're just gonna go off the original comics.
Yeah.
So you can see why people kind of don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But obviously when Lionsgate bought Artisan, they inherited this whole film, TV, internet movie plan and just didn't bother doing anything with it. They obviously had other things in that purchase that they were far more interested in, and they just never really did anything with them, which meant that the rights very steadily start like creeping back to Marvel, sort of one at a time, where one of them gets sold off 1 year or 6 months later, and then that one comes back, and then the next one does. And
well, can I interject on what I've heard, the rumors I've heard? So I heard things like Sony obviously is, until the very recent merger with Sony, and now Marvel, Disney, Umbrella. How this is not becoming a monopoly, I don't know. Oh, sorry, it was Fox. Anyway.
Fox, yeah. Sony is still hanging on out there.
Yeah, so let me slightly adjust that. But yes, Fox, it was Fox. I know they had the rights, but they were like, no one knows who this Iron Man dude is. Like, what the hell? People know who X-Men are and things like that. That's going to make money, which made sense because that was some of the first stuff we got. I mean, let's be honest, superhero films have been around. There were some in the 90s. We had The Crow, we had the Phantasm, which was a very... the Phantasm, excuse me. We had The Phantom, which was a very low, like, you wouldn't even know that was a comic. I mean, they've always been around.
Yeah, but we've had Batman movies since forever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all the DC stuff seemed to be a lot more sort of in the popular zeitgeist, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, people are more likely to recognize the Superman logo, the Batman logo, just because they were being made into movies way before any of this.
I totally I agree with that. Like, I knew those more, but I loved X-Men, and
like the X-Men TV show, like the proper that one. That TV show was something else, and it's probably it's a really solid adaptation of the comics. Like, they managed to like make so the X-Men TV show had some amazing adaptations of storylines that we've actually seen in movies since. So the whole Dark Phoenix saga, which I think is about to come back around again. Apocalypse, like all these things that have since been made into movies, had pretty condensed and very good distilled runs in the X-Men TV show.
And there was also some very kind of dark storylines. Like, I remember the episode where Jean like meets Wolverine, and he's, his claws accidentally engage, and she's telling him. I mean, I remember like those episodes, but they were dark.
Yeah, there's an episode where Rogue meets Captain Marvel and puts her into a coma.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny when we look back on things in our childhood. We're like, that would not fly as a kid's cartoon today. Like Batman, the animated series, I know that's more DC and I won't go too much in it, but I mean, the animation and things, that maybe that we'll save that for a DC podcast, but
For sure.
oh my God. So yeah, so it's funny. Yes, they've always kind of been in the whatever that fancy word you said,
Zeitgeist, yeah.
Thank you. But what's another Fox one?
It's X-Men. It's just all X-Men.
Oh, is it all X-Men? So Sony is the Spider-Man.
Because Deadpool counts as part of the X-Men, really, because he's got X-Force and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, so
Helen's
he was
boring
Fox.
about Marvel.
Okay. Yeah, but I guess Deadpool was a bit of a late one. Okay. Gotcha. So continue. So all these things are wonderfully floating around. No one wants this Tony Stark dude.
Yeah, and in 2005... the man we all have to thank for this, who's an executive at Marvel, David Maisel, decided to just suggest, why don't we just make these films ourselves?
Yeah.
Instead of having some other company do it. And managed to get financing from just Merrill Lynch of all the all the companies to get it from. It's just like, it's such a crazy business thing to pick up. And they got $525 million to make movies. And essentially it went like this. If the movies make money, great. Then everyone gets money back, everyone wins. If the movies do not make money, Merrill Lynch get to take all of those properties off Marvel and the rights don't go back to them.
Oof.
That's it. It's like those are ours now. It's like they've purchased them off them for good.
Wow.
And this is Captain America, all of the Avengers, Black Panther, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Hawkeye,
wow.
A whole bunch of things that everyone knows, and they are like literally hanging by a thread. So if these movies do not work, it doesn't. The everything ends now. And
wow, like hearing that surprises me. So to have Iron Man be your first film out of the gate to start this Marvel Studios, that's a bit of a big risk, don't you think?
As risks go, and when you think about it, so this deal all went through, and then for some reason they wanted Iron Man, so they waited 2 more months for the rights to expire, and they came back to Marvel, and they started there. They got Jon Favreau, who was famous for doing Elf, and not really anything else particularly fantastic. Like, he did a funny movie.
Yeah.
They got Robert Downey Jr., literally the recovering drug addict Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
And somehow this movie became ridiculous. It made $585 million
In a day.
I mean, worldwide, that's its takings.
Yeah.
Which is $65 million more than Merrill Lynch gave them to begin with.
Oh,
so
wow.
Iron Man paid off their own debt.
I remember this year vividly, absolutely vividly. 2008. I remember this summer because...
The magic year.
Yes, it was the summer I also met my better half, and it was funny. We went
That's
to...
funny. Same. I met my husband that year.
That's hilarious. But because she saw it on the plane, and then was like, we have to go see it. And we went to a place in Aurora, Colorado called Movie Tavern. And to be honest, this is why I'm glad we bring it up, and this is why it's more of a personal deep dive. I didn't know Iron Man. I didn't know who this person was. What was this? I was just like, whatever, summer film. I like superhero films. I wasn't a big fan of the Fantastic Four that came out a couple years prior and things like that. But yeah, I was like, oh, fuck it. I'll give it a go. And I was very pleasantly surprised. And I think the rest of the world was surprised.
Yeah, and I think it still holds up.
Yes.
Like, I will watch this movie, I would say maybe every month or two, because it's still that good that I will watch it. And like, when that first like chord starts playing of Back in Black, I'm just like, this is going to be such a good movie. Like, the soundtrack's excellent, every bit of writing is excellent, the visual effects are excellent, and I will talk about that.
Yes,
forever.
please. I think that's what helped it, because again,
It's an ILM
help me
show.
out. I could be wrong. I mean, we had obviously X-Men a few years prior because the first X-Men came out in 2000.
Yep.
But they kind of like Fantastic Four, like, and Silver Surfer, which I'm almost positive came out before then, which are technically, I guess they might be either Fox or Sony. I don't know. We've had superheroes film and the CG's been okay, but there was something about this film that I don't know now that we both have worked on Jon Favreau projects. We know his attention to detail. So I don't know if it was that because he understands the marriage between visual effects, but less is more. So he's not trying to throw too much CG. I don't know. Like it just.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that I will always say that the animation of the Iron Man suit in the first Iron Man movie is still some of the best. It's so simple, but you feel the weight of it. You feel the actual weight of the suit, and people can't get this right with digidoubles that are the weight of a normal person, but somehow they can get it right with a fake mech suit, essentially. And it's so good. It's really, really solid work. And like the heads-up display just kind of became the go-to. Oh, you're doing something. You're doing a practice comp today. What is it going to be? It's going to be a heads-up display like you're in Iron Man.
Yeah,
of course it is. And yeah, like it's absolutely iconic. And like I say, it made $585 million worldwide, so it completely paid off their debts. And the MCU films have made $17.5 billion in the time that they have existed.
Wow.
So you do wonder if maybe Merrill Lynch got the raw end of the deal.
Maybe, but I bet you though at the time, I mean, look how we just broke it down where they were like, okay, wait, so we got some no-name director who used to be an actor that he did Elf, which I didn't know, by the way.
You didn't know that? Oh boy.
But no, you could see like they look at this list, this no-name at the time, obviously not anymore, director, this recovering, probably now at the time B-list actor who was like, oh my god, this Robert Downey Jr. guy, freaking hell, he's they're probably going, oh my god, this is so gonna fail, and oh yes, I mean, wow. I didn't know that part about Merrill Lynch and things. That's really fascinating. Yeah, absolutely fascinating.
Do you want to say anything else in particular about Iron Man 1 visual effects wise?
I think you've really much covered it. Like what you've covered before, that the suit looked great. I can honestly say, I mean, I've always, because by then I was in film school and things like that. So, I mean, I was definitely looking at films and watching films, but I always watched it more from an editor eye, but visual effects was always in the background. Back then I didn't think I was going to be in visual effects, but I'd always appreciated it because of Jurassic Park and things like that. Like we had kind of established in our previous episode, but the nice thing was it didn't jump out at me. Nothing was like, oh god. But obviously it wasn't until I was in the VFX industry that I had an even more appreciation for it, because of like what you had just said about getting the weight right of these mechanical things, and it didn't seem campy. I guess I did. No, because that's me putting my No,
anyway. Tell me. I want to hear all your opinions.
But no, that's not an opinion. It's me just kind of like thinking out loud. It's one of those, like, I was going to say, I mean, I could definitely tell you it was better than Spider-Man, but to be fair,
you mean the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Yeah, the Tobey, those are, but at the same time, I didn't have the visual eye like I do now, and I think my current visual eye is trying to rewrite history, so that's why I was kind of... I
could probably do an entire episode talking about Spider-Man. All 6 movies.
There's the
3 Tobey Maguires, 2 Andrew Garfields, 1 Tom Holland. Okay. And by the time we get round to it, there will be 7 because Far From Home will have come out.
Yeah. Hot take, which one's your favorite? Who's your favorite Spider-Man? I think I know the answer to this.
Favorite Spider-Man is Tom Holland.
Yes.
But best Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man 2. Absolutely, 100,000%. It's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
That was the one with Dr. Octopus.
It was.
Yes.
And it's one of the best superhero movies of all time. It's me, back with my hot takes. Spider-Man 2 is a better movie than Spider-Man Homecoming.
Which which I haven't seen yet. It's one of the few I haven't seen yet, but we'll touch on this a little bit later about how what made the MCU I feel work is I haven't seen Homecoming, but I love and appreciate Tom Holland's Spider-Man in Infinity War. Like, I don't feel like I've missed anything about this character
because he was also set up in Civil War.
Oh, that's true. I guess he was, wasn't he? But yeah.
But that's the thing is that it's like T'Challa being picked up in, that was also in Civil War. So you kind of saw like an inkling of Black Panther, and then he got his own movie.
Yeah.
And they know now, they understand their formula. Obviously, these films are ridiculously expensive and they make a ridiculous amount of money, and they've worked out exactly how to do that. So there is a formula to all of these movies, and I don't think anyone needs to kid themselves and say that there's not.
Yeah.
But it's obviously a successful formula because they've made $17.5 billion out of it.
That sounds like something like a supervillain would say. $17.5 billion. Question. So kind of back to your history timeline. When did Kevin Feige get involved? Because he's often credited as he is the man with the plan.
So Kevin Feige got involved like straight from the beginning, actually, because he was an associate producer on X-Men. He went through Spider-Man 2, Punisher, Elektra, Fantastic Four, X-Men The Last Stand, Spider-Man 3. Like, he went all the way through this. So he has always been producing or executive producing in some level on every single one of these movies and literally nothing else. Including, some TV stuff. Agent Carter, the upcoming limited series that are going on to the Disney streaming service. Nice. All that stuff. So he is fully you're absolutely right, he is the man with the plan. Yeah. And he obviously knows exactly what he's doing.
I feel like... And it's funny, you'll hate me because I always bring it back to Star Wars. It's just the other fandom I'm very big and kind of follow industry sites and things like that. They very much say that like the Star Wars universe should have had a Kevin Feige because Kevin Feige, the amount of times like he came out and was like, right, phase 1, we're going to have this film, this film, this film, this film, this film. It is somehow you're going to get your characters introduced. So by the time you get to this film, you have known this information. So you care. So then you can get a 3-hour endgame movie and you will sit through it because you care about the characters that much.
Yeah. And also somehow he's managed to make us go, I loved Iron Man, and I've watched The Incredible Hulk, and I'm watching Captain America, the First Avenger, and I'm not turning this off. Because really, objectively, Captain America it's one of the weaker films just because it has so much to set up. Because it's so much more... Like, when you get to sort of the Red Skull and it all just gets a little bit weird. And Iron Man, I hate to say it, but felt a little bit more grounded in reality because it wasn't like a science experiment gone wrong makes a Superman. Like, it was very much fair. A smart man built this thing because he's smart.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
And it's obviously fantastical. And, like, even The Incredible Hulk, I think because... It's kind of been known around for a while, but then, we had Hulk and Incredible Hulk, and they obviously tried it a couple of times to make this work, and eventually just threw both of them out and went, just go for Mark Ruffalo, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, it's interesting, because like I was first introduced to him when the film 13 Going on 30.
Oh, yeah.
So what he
that is a movie.
I love that film. It also has, I guess, technically Elektra in it. But that's the other thing we'll maybe touch on in a second, that now, like, you can't name an actor that, well, you can still name a few, but most of them nowadays have been in a Marvel film of some sort or superhero film of some sort. I mean, to be fair, my God, before Blockbuster went out of business, because yes, I did work at one, and again, 2008, we started making a superhero section for the because like it was starting to become a genre.
Absolutely.
And things, but yeah, just I definitely see what you're saying about Captain America but I actually though also sometimes I enjoy the ones that aren't modern day. I think that's, and again, this is my last DC cross reference. I think that's why I enjoyed Wonder Woman so much, was because it was in a time period that we know of that it was an interesting seeing a limitation to technology, I guess. Whereas Iron Man, he could have any fantastical robots because he's built it. Whereas in obviously World War II or World War I, you're like, oh, wait, you're only limited to this kind of technology and trying to make it work. But
yeah, but I feel like in Iron Man, you do get the sense that he's earned it. If you started Iron Man off with him already, I mean, obviously I understand this is how the movie goes, but the fact that he's gone from, I'm using my old weapons and scraps to build a prototype, you can see the natural progression.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's what made it work.
Absolutely.
And I have some theories for Endgame because of this. That him and Nebula, whatever within the ship they're in, my theory is they're going to do that exact same thing where he's going to have to put his wits and somehow he's going to get back to Earth.
I mean, we are constantly being fooled by the trailers because we've had one trailer with big gaps in the group where they're all in their nice white spacesuits. Everyone's walking, there's gaps. And then there's one where we've got Tony and Nebula in there. And they are absolutely trying to pull a fast one on us either way.
And we
because
know
they could very well have just shot it with gaps.
Well, that's true. Well, the other thing is, and this is maybe a hot take debate, but there, I mean, and as we know with trailers, by delivering trailer shots ourselves and things like that, that they could either be made just for trailer purposes, or all of a sudden that sequence just by the time the film finishes gets dropped and things. But I think definitely in case of Marvel, I remember seeing trailer breakdowns where all of a sudden after the film came out, they're like, holy crap, this wasn't even in the film. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And Infinity War proved that, where they are now purposely doing that. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's like with Endgame now, we know that the Russo brothers have allowed something like 5 minutes of footage out of the first half an hour or first third of the movie. That's all that the trailer companies are allowed to play with. And both you and I can attest to the fact that normally the trailer companies just go with whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to talk about it because it deeply affected me. Terminator Genesis. They put the reveal that John Connor was a Terminator into the trailer, which is the stupidest thing that anyone has ever done in a trailer. Because, but also you can kind of see why they did it. Because if they didn't think people were going to go and see this movie, they go, well, they will now, because we'll have shown them this really cool thing. Because it was a really cool transformation. I really liked I really loved the T-3000. It was great.
Who did was that? Was that
That
DNEG?
was DNEG.
I'll say it definitely wasn't NPC. Okay.
And it's a really, really cool transformation. You can see why they put the really cool part in the trailer. But also, if they hadn't, and it had been during the movie revealed, it would have been mind-blowing. Like, that film would have done so much better, because people would have been like, oh my god, did you see it? Did you Connor?
I know. And I have to be careful, because again, we could go into a whole another deep dive of things about trailer editing and things like that. But this will definitely be another hot take down the road. But speaking of hot takes, though, we're going to transition into another Marvel film that was part of, I believe, Phase 2.
It certainly was.
On what could have definitely been considered another big risk was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I went into this film with absolutely my expectations were, it's another Marvel film, it'll probably be all right, but I have no clue what this is going in. Like, since about midway through Phase 2, I just started devouring all the comics. So like now I'm that asshole about everything in it. So like every single one of these properties, I'm just like, So with every single one of these properties, I'm just like, well, actually, in the original comic book version, this and this happened, so this can't happen. Or, oh, well, this will deviate from the comic books because this character hasn't been introduced. And unless they introduce this character in this movie, it can't go down the same way as in the comic books. I'm that person now, and it's really annoying.
But, however, look at what's now happened in the span of, 15 years? People are buying comics again. You are living proof of that people are now buying Marvel comics again because of these films, and people want to know about the backstories on things. So the films almost revitalized. Yeah. So I remember, because I was at Frame Store when Guardians was happening, aka Full Tilt, and MPC actually, because these films take a while.
So long.
Oh my God. They're getting faster. And this was one of the things I wanted to touch in with how it kind of ties in with visual effects. But I remember sitting in the kitchen and people were like, yeah, but it's probably going to fail because it has a freaking raccoon and a tree in it. Like, people are just going to think this is too weird.
Yeah.
But going back to kind of touching back on our trailers, it had an amazing trailer.
Absolutely.
Hooked on a feeling. It was, I think, the first time we saw, Marvel has always had a nice balance of humor, but this one really kind of shifted that humor into it. And we'll touch this on another film like Thor Ragnarok, where the tone has really changed, but it really kind of transformed that. We're like, oh wait, these could be like fun.
But this is what I love about all of the MCU, right? Is that all of the films have the formula, and when you break it down, Thor Ragnarok and Captain America Civil War or Winter Soldier have all got the exact same formula. Like they need to hit the same beats in the same order, and there's like the set pieces are here and here, and they absolutely go through it all bit by bit. But then you go, yeah, but Captain America for Winter Soldier is a spy movie, Guardians of the Galaxy is a comedy space opera, Ant-Man's a heist movie. Like, they're all just like, they're becoming these weird like genre films, and it's really cool. Like, it is really, really awesome the way that it works. And like Thor Ragnarok is an actual masterpiece, and that's another one that I can quite happily sit there and talk to you about for ages.
We're going to touch on it, trust me.
But even the second Thor, which people are like, oh, this is the worst movie ever, but I just don't agree. Thor Ragnarok is not a good MCU movie, but it's not a bad movie. Like, the level of MCU movies is so high that if you say, oh yeah, but Thor Dark World is the worst one, it's like, yeah, but like, you're talking about like the worst of the best things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of a really good analogy, and I'm absolutely coming up with nothing right now.
It's like saying, oh, but that's like an expired wine, but it's an expired, like, expensive wine. That was
because that's vinegar. So let me just quickly talk you through something.
Science!
This is not Guardians of the Galaxy.
I will say it probably is my least favorite. Like, I could leave it. There was nothing really memorable in my opinion of it. Others people like it. That's great. I just didn't. No, I was just like, yeah, and you could tell Natalie Portman was just checked out, and she's a brilliant actress, but she was so checked out of this film. She was just like, yeah, don't give a shit.
Whereas in Guardians of the Galaxy, everyone is so on board from second one.
Well, yeah, like again, if you looked at it on paper, it could sound really strange. You're like, wait, there's a talking tree that he literally says, I am Groot. Like, how amazing is Vin Diesel for this? He literally has to come in for, a day? And do I am Groot probably 250 different ways. And then they can just choose.
And in different languages.
I know, that's impressive.
Like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Who went? Bradley Cooper. That's the one we want.
Yeah. Because he wasn't really, because like he was in the not Hunger Games. He was in the Hangover.
The Hangover. I was going to say he was not in the Hunger Games.
Yeah. No, he was
baby Bradley Cooper.
Oh my God. I mean, he was in The Hangover, and he was a bit of an obnoxious asshole in that. So maybe they were like, yep, there's our raccoon.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah,
and I think
it's so good.
It was on the pulse that's when this trend of nostalgia was becoming big. So you had, and you're having a bunch of people who are at Quill's age now working on these films. So you're getting that, oh yeah, we have this love for these 80s songs, and it's calling to the older audience. Well, I say older audience, but you know what I mean? Like, it's that right now nostalgia has been in for at least the last 6 years. So they just found that perfect moment and struck gold again.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I couldn't believe it. And actually, I mean, I pre-ordered it when it was going to come out on Blu-ray and loved it, and even really enjoyed the second one. Like, I feel they were maybe trying to be almost too funny in the second one.
Nah, the second one has got like some of the best moments in it. Like, anything with Yondu, I swear. Like, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
That
is
made
one
me
of the best lines in the MCU.
It's funny. I did watch it I had it playing in the background on Sunday, and yeah, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Oh my god,
so
yes, Yondu, and the whole like
and the send off of Yondu as well.
I cried.
It's also good.
I cried on Sunday. It was awful. I was like, oh my god, you are a hormonal mess. But yes, I did cry. I
love it.
Good. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is very much, and actually visual effect wise was really good as well. I mean, again, I'm a bit biased, but
yeah, but like it's crazy because it's probably one of the few films where people don't go, yeah, but all the spaceships look really CGI. Because it feels very bedded into that completely insane universe.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, whenever anyone says that spaceships look CGI, I just want to slap them and go, do you want us to get a real one? What are you expecting from us?
But you have a point, because you know what immediately pops to my mind that are two CG looking ships is Valerian.
Yes.
And Ender's Game.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a lighting thing, a texture thing. I don't know.
I think it's a shader thing for sure.
Yeah, it's a shader thing. But
actually, who did
this was going to be one of my questions that I had for you. Do you feel with now come on, we get like at least three Marvel films a year now. Do you feel that these films also really gave the visual effect industry a big boost in terms of things, or do you just think
100%? Like, we have gotten to a point now where generally a visual effects house has got a Marvel film going on in it at some point or another. Now Disney owns everything. So if Disney has a Disney movie, a Marvel movie, or now a Fox movie,
yeah,
they now have work in every single studio probably on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's what's keeping us alive right now, is the fact that Disney just keeps on churning out these things, and they just keep doing well.
I mean,
they are the corporate marketing machine, and they have been since like 1931 or whatever.
Exactly.
And they just keep on, like, even when they fall and do a Black Cauldron, they come back and they just keep. Because they've got so much money behind them, they can just go, okay, that one flopped, next. Just keep barreling forward. We've still got all this capital behind us. It's not like they are these small companies that do fold because they just can't afford a single failure. Yeah.
No, I
will rant about this for days.
Because I was thinking about that, and I was just like, I wonder if it's... Because I don't think the Marvel films... Because going back to our previous episode, we were talking about like the history of VFX, and not really any Marvel's films revolutionized VFX in terms of the technology used or the techniques. However, you are correct. It's what's basically keeping the roof over our head and the food in our bellies.
Yeah, and like the films like Guardians of the Galaxy, and there are films coming out now that could literally have never been made before. Mm-hmm. Because there just simply was not the computing power. Just think about, like, I hate to say it because we're those people. Think about Jungle Book. Like, no one would have made that, and people would never have thought that was a real jungle.
Yeah.
And now here we are. And he's about to try and do it again.
Yes.
And see, now it's funny because the ones that I'm picking are the ones with the excellent musical cues. Like, you've got Iron Man 1 with Back in Black. You've got Guardians with like the entire soundtrack. Thor Ragnarok, which is this incredible 80s synth masterpiece.
Yes. Oh. I mean, to the point they even got the text to match and things. I was actually very happy for Thor Ragnarok because, again, I was so disappointed with the Dark World. That I was just like, but again, it's the trailers. Like, trailers definitely go hand in hand. The trailer hooked me for Ragnarok. And again, I now knew Thor from the Avengers films and things like that. And Loki, that I was like, all right, I'm in. Count me in kind of thing. And
also, like, you've got Bruce Banner in there as well.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen those two interact very much, so it's kind of like, oh, so how's this going to play out? And then, of course, it plays out like, an absolute masterpiece. Thor Ragnarok is hands down one of the best MCU films, and I will fight anyone on that.
I think the only thing that and I don't know if this was the director doing the voice, was the rock creature.
Korg, Taika Waititi.
Yeah, yes, which I'm very excited to see what he's going to do in The Mandalorian.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love him so much.
Yes. But I just kind of didn't feel like his character, I don't know. I need to watch it again, but I loved the Valkyrie chick.
So out of interest, have you ever seen anything else that he's done or been in?
I know he's done some controversial stuff, and I know he's a big comic kind of person in New Zealand.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to do one bit of homework for me.
Okay.
Please go away and watch What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
It is a mockumentary about 3 vampires who live in New Zealand. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Okay.
To the point where I've had to pause it and laugh because I am missing things because I can't breathe. Like, I swear, it's one of the best things ever. And honestly, like, him, Jermaine Clement, like, there's some really standout
nice
Kiwi talent around for the comedy, so
that's brilliant. I definitely will check it out. Absolutely. I wanted to share our last film that's just obviously is the most recent one that's come out, and that is Captain Marvel.
That's another one with crazy musical cues.
Which, let me tell you, was really surreal for me being a 90s kid. And when I say 90s kid, I mean, like, I remember the 90s. Like, I was 10 I was 10 in 95. So hearing I'm Just a Girl, and I mean, I'm getting to that point now in my life. I'm like, oh my God, I remember this kind of stuff. But what I wanted to touch on was because obviously what's been kind of in the conversation, and again, what I like that Marvel is doing, but I personally don't feel is being kind of shoved in our faces or down our throats, is representation.
Yes.
Like, the thing was, like, some people, like, and I heard it on a podcast, and the guy wasn't being awful, but it was a white male going, you know, why is everyone going on about Captain Marvel and I liked Captain Marvel. What's the big deal? Let's break down the history of a Marvel superhero film, or a female-led superhero film that has succeeded before Captain Marvel.
Yep, we're done. That's it.
Yes, my point exactly. And that's why this was important. It needed to be successful because now it has kicked open the doors that people now go, oh, female superhero films can be successful and things. And what I liked was the costume choice. She was not sexualized once.
Nope.
I'm a very big fan of Wonder Woman, but what was different is she didn't need a love interest, whereas Wonder Woman had a love interest, which I like that. So with Wonder Woman, she's obviously got the classic outfit in inverted commas, but also like Captain Marvel, when she was Ms. Marvel, she essentially just wore a bathing suit. Oh, okay.
A bathing suit and a belt.
That they all did back then,
but I really liked this outfit. I mean, there is some questionable visual effects at the end, but I think it suffered the same way that maybe Black Panther did, where everything was great up until the last 23 minutes, I'm gonna say, because it just it's not necessarily that the quality drops off, because I think the quality, it's just that suddenly it's a lot more in your face than it was previously.
Well, and this actually ties into what I wanted to share with the audience. I had a moment in the final battle where she's in space, and again, guys, spoilers, this is where you need to just
spoilers, she's in space.
well, but the thing, anyway, with the big fight and Ronan has appeared with his ships and blah, 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 blah. And it's amazing. My better half is losing her shit and is like so excited and is pumped and is like, yes, that is me on screen, blah, blah, blah. I'm having a moment going, oh my God, the fanboys, I can just hear them in my head right now complaining, oh, she's overpowered, blah, blah, blah. And I was actually not enjoying the moment. Yeah. And I literally, while this is all going on, this is my inner monologue going, hang on a second, you have fucking Thor and shit like that. Fuck that. Pardon me, but fuck that. You are entitled to this too. And it's a blonde super, let me trust me, like, all my favorite heroines are brunette, where it's like, oh, she's blonde. Yes.
I don't know. One of my favorite heroines is Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, so...
yes. But I just had this absolute moment because of all, like, the man babies, and I'm not saying all men are like this, so I do not make blankets...
There's just a vocal minority.
Yes, I do not make blanket statements, but because of that... I was really just almost didn't feel like I was allowed to enjoy this or felt like, oh God, this is a bit much. And I was like, no, actually, no. And
I think she's about the same level of power as Thor.
Yeah, and I think
Thor can fly through space and smash a spaceship. Like, he's fine.
Exactly.
Approved.
And
Approved final.
Yeah, so that was my biggest thing that I took away from it. That I was just like, obviously I really enjoyed it and the humor and things like that, but no, actually, I am allowed to have this as well. And so, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised because that was the other thing. Didn't know anything, kind of putting it all back to one, just like Iron Man. I didn't know anything about Captain Marvel, but now we're in what, phase 4?
Phase 4, so Endgame is going to wrap up phase 3, and then the new Spider-Man movie is going to be the beginning of phase 4, as far as I understand.
So, I mean, look at that. Phase 3, the end of phase 3, yet another kind of, not a lot of people kind of know this Captain Marvel. I didn't. I knew nothing, and it's doing really well. And it's not one of those, oh, it has Marvel's name on it, it will automatically do well. No, that's not how it works, but yeah, and it'll be interesting. I cannot wait to see her dynamic adding to the Avengers. I think that'll be very cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting.
I'm looking forward to geeking out with you in a month after Endgame off podcast. That'll be like
husband and I are going to be going to a midnight viewing, I think.
Brilliant. But so I mean, yeah, that was pretty much our little semi-deep dive into the MCU and things. I mean, again, as always, kind of a visual effect based, but kind of also story and definitely business side. Music, and well done with also, I love, Helen, that you have like the business industry, like, like the studio stuff where you add to that. So that's I knew nothing about that, Merrill Lynch, so that was quite cool. So yeah. Anything else we want to say kind of in wrapping with our MCU?
I don't think so. I am looking forward to Endgame. Don't know if we'll necessarily do a whole episode on it when it comes out, but I'm sure that we'll miss it and we'll mention it in passing when we get to Crosstalk later down the line.
Oh, yes.
And we just need to think of something exciting to talk about next week. Maybe something a little bit more technical rather than just us yelling about how much we love stuff.
Probably, something about like animation or something, because that'll be a big topic. Because I have a feeling another Lion King trailer is going to drop soon. And that's going to open that debate of, is this an animated film or not?
Yeah, in our previous episode where we were talking about Pixar, and I said that Pixar isn't a studio that you would consider makes visual effects movies. Makes you think about Lion King, which is which is essentially the same as a Pixar movie.
Is it? Is it all?
If you boil it down,
is it rendered in? Is it in RenderMan?
The entire thing. No, but the entire thing is CG, right?
Well, yeah. Well, and this is one of the things, like, I think maybe tying into our next episode is, how is it not? Because this is the big pub debate that I'm having with people going, it's an animated film. No, it's not. And with that, we will dive into that in next episode of animation. So, Helen, where can everybody find us? Okay, we are on Twitter @PendingFinal, Instagram @PendingFinalPodcast, Gmail, you can email us at pendingfinal@gmail.com,
You can leave us comments. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can rate and
Subscribe?
share it around. You can subscribe. You can do whatever you want. Just tell us what you thought about
And
it. Give us a tweet.
Give us a tweet, or even give us some suggestions on things you'd be interested. I've had actually some people reach out to me and say that they're getting really informed. So if any of the listeners want to learn about something that we haven't covered yet, we will try to the best of our abilities and talk about it.
Yeah, and I think we might be able to get some guest stars in at some point too.
Ooh, I don't know about this. This is exciting. Awesome. Well, I have been Shannon, and
I've been Helen.
And this has been Pending Final, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye.